Hi everyone, it's Shannon and welcome to today's video. So I am back and to do another first impressions and I guess review of the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palettes for 2023. And today we're talking about Snake, but it's in owl packaging because I don't like snakes. I did purchase it in the owl packaging. I did customize it. Now I did customize jellyfish in owl packaging by accident. I meant to delete, I deleted the wrong one. But anyway, I got the snake. Now this was what I did because I don't like snakes. So, and I really liked the owl packaging. I think it's gorgeous and I have no regrets doing that. But this is the snake palette. So snake is definitely the deepest. Jellyfish is definitely the lightest. Leopard is the middle. And snake is definitely the deepest. Snake would be equivalent, I think, to the tiger from last year. I did not have the tiger. I only got the elephant. And this is the snake. So I did purchase all three. Leopard was just shipped separately. So I will be doing a separate video on leopard. And leopard, I think it's scheduled to get here on Monday. What I hope to do is film that video as soon as it gets here and get that video up as that same day if I can. And what I will do in that video, I will compare all three, the jellyfish, the leopard, and the snake. I'm not gonna compare this one to jellyfish today because I'm gonna do that in the video. I just want to do that once, but I will be comparing this today to the other two ambient lighting, the one sculpture from 2020 as well as elephant. I think it's going to be very different. I think this is more comparable to tiger. However, I don't have tiger as I mentioned. However, I am going to compare it to I think the Lovegasm from Charlotte Tilbury, as well as the Pillow Talk Beautifying face palette from Charlotte Tilbury, the medium dark, because I think that is a very comparable. And if you are someone who likes these palettes, you might have that palette. And I'm even curious to see how they compare. So let's get into snake. And if you didn't watch my video on jellyfish, as far as the palettes are concerned, there are 3 palettes, but there's 4 packaging. So when you purchase it at Sephora or Ulta or any other, third-party retailer, this will have the snake packaging. However, if you are purchasing it from Hourglass.com, then you can get it with, there's 4 different packaging. You can get it with owl. Owl is exclusive to, I guess it's hourglasscosmetics.com. It is exclusive to their website, or you could get the jellyfish packaging with the snake or the leopard packaging with the snake. So you can put whatever packaging you want. You're not tied to the snake packaging. So I love that about it. The thing with Hourglass is sometimes they're not going to be sales. So, and I know last year I wanted the elephant packaging with the tiger, the elephant palette with the tiger packaging, and it sold out online as far as customization. So I was never able, and then I ended up just buying it from Sephora. So I wanted to customize it, but the customization palette for the elephant palette sold out. You could still buy it with the elephant packaging, but you couldn't do the customization. So if you want to customize it, I would do it sooner rather than later because some of these palettes do sell out as far as for the customization. So let's get into a little bit about these palettes. I'm going to do a quick little just overview. If you watched my jellyfish palette, you can kind of skip through this. And it just says, our highly anticipated Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked palettes return, featuring artwork that celebrates the beauty of nature and helps unlock change to protect animal rights. Each palette includes new and best-selling shades for a glowing complexion in a single palette. The Ambient Lighting Edit Unlocked collection includes limited edition palettes featuring snake, leopard, and jellyfish that support the Non-Human Rights Project in their efforts to secure fundamental rights for animals. Hourglass will donate 5% of annual profits from this collection to the Non-Human Rights Project. These palettes this year are $90. Last year they were $85. So like everything else, the price is more. And then again, this is the snake palette. So it says that this palette includes Ambient Lighting Powder in Radiant Light, which is an existing shade. So the only existing shade is the finishing powder. And then it's along with 5 new shades of blush, bronzer, and highlighter to diffuse, enhance, and add glow to the complexion. So the only existing shade is the finishing powder. There are 3 blushes, there's a bronzer, and there is a highlighter. So last year, I believe Tiger didn't have a bronzer, and it had 2 blushes, but the finishing powder was really dark, so a lot of people use that as the bronzer. But this year, there's only 1 finishing powder, which is Radiant Light, which I actually love. I actually have a full size of Radiant Light. When I have a spray tan, and not right now, but when I have a spray tan, this is beautiful as a finishing powder. It gives me a glow. Right now it'd probably be a little too dark for me, but when I have a spray tan, it's great. And then you have, again, an actual true bronzer with Tiger did it. So already I think it's a better palette than Tiger was, because you have 3 blushes, only 1 finishing powder, and you have a true bronzer. So I don't have it to compare, but you know, I think that if you maybe missed out on Tiger and you maybe regretted it, probably was not a bad idea, because you will probably have a better selection with this palette. So let's go ahead and we'll talk about the shades. So before we do the swatches, let's talk about the shades. So we have Radiant Light, which is a golden beige. This is the Ambient Lighting Powder. Then you have the Ambient Lighting Blush, which is Coral Haze, a pink coral. Then you have the Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting Powder, which is the Infinite Strobe Light, which is described as a warm gold. Then in the bottom row, you have an Ambient Lighting Blush. This is Sunbeam, which is a rich peach. Ambient Strobe Lighting Blush in Mystic Flush. This is a mid-tone pink coral. And then finally, you have the Ambient Lighting Bronzer, which is Solar Bronze, which is described as a rich bronze. So let's go ahead and do some swatches. Okay, so we're going to start with the Ambient Finishing Lighting Powder, the finishing powder that is Radiant Light. Here is the blush of Coral Haze. And then here is the Infinite Strobe Light, which is the highlighter. Next, we have the Ambient Lighting Blush in Sunbeam, the Ambient Strobe Lighting Blush in Mystic Flush, and the Ambient Lighting Bronzer in Solar Bronze. So that is it. So you can see this is definitely going to be way too deep for me. Radiant Light, like I said, I can use when I have a spray tan. This highlighter is definitely going to be too dark for me. Well, we will play around with this. I definitely can use the blushes and the bronzer. So I can use this palette. So put it this way. If you are light to medium skin tone, you could definitely use this palette. It's just going to be trickier and harder to use. The other two I definitely think will be easier. At least for me, Jellyfish was very easy. I think Leopard will be also, but I don't have it yet. But this is one that's just going to have to be tricky. And as far as the highlighter, probably won't be able to use it as a highlighter. Maybe I could use it as an eyeshadow or something, but I'd have to be a little creative with that shade. But I still think it's gorgeous, but let's go ahead and play around with it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, since this blush is very luminous and also has, you know, very peachy, I am gonna go in with these 2 blushes on each cheek, and then I'll probably just kind of go in on a little bit, just to kind of, so you can kind of see a little bit. But I'm gonna go in with these just so you can kind of compare the two. This one is so different. So I'm gonna go in with Coral Haze, which is this one at the top. And I'm just going to, I'm using my Sigma, I think it's F10. Yeah, F10. And I'm just going to place it on the cheek. And I'm gonna try and go as light, whoops, I don't know what I have there. I'm gonna try and go in as light as I possibly can. But it's a very pigmented blush, but it's really pretty. So I can definitely make these work. I can definitely make the blushes work. And then obviously if you have a lighter skin tone like me, these are going to last you a very long time, because yeah, you just a little goes a long way. So this is going to be Coral Haze. This is described as a pink coral. And I have switched brushes. It's still another Sigma F10, but I'm going to go now in with the bottom one, which is Mystic Flush, and it is described as a mid-tone pink coral. So you have a pink coral and a mid-tone pink coral. I don't really know what the difference is. there is a difference between the 2 shades, but one is just pink coral and then the other is mid-tone. So very similar shades. I really wish they had more of a mauve in here, but maybe there was a reason for that. So really pretty shades, and obviously very pigmented. So probably put a little too much here, but you can see this is what is that Mystic Flush. This is the mid-tone pink coral, and this is the pink coral, which is Coral Haze. Okay, so for the Sunbeam, which is the Rich Peach, rather than go ahead and take it off my cheeks, I'm going to go in with this on the eyes. I do have some Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize in Pillow Talk, but I'm just going to take, this is a Sigma Soft Blend 30, and I'm just going to go in and kind of go in as an eyeshadow on this, and let's see how that looks. I just kind of want to see. It's a really pretty shade as an eyeshadow. I'll put it also, you can see there, it's gorgeous. It's a really pretty, and that's probably, if I do keep this palette for review purposes, for, you know, future reference, that's probably how I will utilize this shade. It's a really pretty peach, but I think it's going to be too deep for me. Even the blushes are a little deep for me, but that is it as an eyeshadow. And I'll just kind of put a little bit, let's see, on this side, you can kind of see here. I'll put a little bit here. Really pretty shade, gorgeous, but not made for my skin tone. Okay, so even though I don't think that blush is made for my skin tone, I can definitely make the other two work. I'm loving it as an eyeshadow. I think it's gorgeous. So I don't know. I really don't want to keep all three palettes because it's really expensive, but it is really, I'm really loving it as an eyeshadow. Now I do have, like I said, I do have the Pillow Talk Eyes to Mesmerize on before it, so that was kind of the base, but it's a really pretty shade. So again, and if you have if you like peach tones and you have a deeper skin tone, I think that blush is absolutely gorgeous. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with the bronze. Now the bronze I do think is going to be too deep for me as well, but I'm going to go in, and this is one of the Sigma Iconic Bronzer brushes. Don't remember. And let's just put it on. And I'm going to put it on. I'm trying to go lightly, but I think it is just very deep, so it's going to go, yeah, this is definitely too deep for me. Okay, so I did put it on a little bit. Really pretty bronzer, but definitely too deep for me. But I think that's a good thing, because if it worked for me and this is the deepest palette, then there would be something wrong. Do I think this is for really deep skin tones? No. However, do I think it's for medium to tan skin tones? Yes. So I guess that's, you know, a step in the right direction. Now we're gonna go in with the highlighter, and I do think that this is going to be too deep for me as well. This is the Infinite Strobe Light. It is described as a warm gold, and I'm going to, again, just kind of place it on here, and I'm gonna try and see, I do think, yeah, that's going to be too deep for my skin tone. Again, expected, and that's probably a good thing. So I'll put it just so that I can even it out here. But then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to place this again as an eyeshadow so we can see how it looks, and I'll put it in the middle, in the inner corner, and just to kind of see how it looks as an eyeshadow. And it is absolutely gorgeous. Got a nice, like, I mean, gorgeous shine. So this is a palette that if you were light skin toned but you really like some of the blushes, you could definitely use some of these shades as eyeshadows. It's a really pretty, you know, but I guess that would be a very expensive eyeshadow palette. Well, in comparison, well, $90 for 6 shades, yeah, that's expensive. Okay, so I went ahead and put it in on the inner corner and on the brow bone. Gorgeous. Like, honestly, these two shades, this Sunbeam and the highlighter, which is the Infinite Strobe Light, as eyeshadows are stunning. So you could absolutely use, I would use the bronzer in the crease, use this all over the lid, and this is, I mean, that would be absolutely stunning. And then you have the 3 blushes, like that could be going on a trip, that could be everything, like, oh, amazing. You probably could do that with any of the palettes, but that's how I would utilize this palette, because the shades, some of the shades I can't utilize for what their purpose is. But really, I mean, I think it looks stunning. Now I'm going to go in with the finishing powder, which is the Radiant Light. Again, that one right there. And I'm just going to go in and kind of just do what I would normally do. Now, again, I do think that this one is going to be too dark for me at this point because I don't have a spray tan. I don't have any sort of tan or color, but I can definitely make it work. It just kind of gives me like a bronzy glow whenever I use it. So it's really pretty. It is one of my favorites. And which is one of the reasons why it is the only finishing powder that I have in a full size. I do have dim light in the small size, but I have this one in a full size and I love it. So that is it. That is Snake on a light to medium skin tone, probably more light these days. Definitely can make it work, but not necessarily for the purposes that it's intended. The highlighter is not a highlighter on me. The bronze is probably need to go lighter handed and not do it on a tiny little mirror like I am. But you can definitely make it work if it's one that you really like and if it's shades that you really like. But do I recommend this for light to medium skin tones? No. This is definitely made for people with deeper skin tones. So now let's get into some comparisons. Okay, so just some side-by-side comparisons of the two other palettes that I have from previous years. This is the Sculpture Palette from 2020. So you can see this is a lot deeper. Yeah, just completely a lot deeper. And then we have Elephant. And again, this one is more in line with Tiger from last year. But here is Elephant, so you can see again, it is much deeper than the Elephant. Now the packaging is very similar as far as like the style. I think it's very similar to, so if you have the packaging, it's kind of like that same style. But those are the two. So what I'm gonna do is I'm not even gonna bother with the finishing powders because they're so different for these palettes. I think for the Snake, it's not even worth it because the Radiant Light is so much darker. For Leopard, I will compare them, but for Snake, I'm not going to because it's so much deeper. But I will compare the blushes, and then I'm going to compare the bronzers. And so first I'm going to compare the two ambient lighting palettes that I have. So again, 2020 and 2022. I did not buy the one in 2021. And then I will go and compare to the NARS. I think it's the Foreplay palette because I think there's some comparisons with that one, as well as the Charlotte Tilbury Lovegasm and Pillow Talk Beautifying face palette in the medium dark, because I think those might be comparable as well. Okay, so starting with the blushes, we have Sunbeam, Coral Haze, and Mystic Flush. So I did go a little out of order. These are the ones from Snake, but I did want to put these two side by side because Mystic Flush is the mid-tone pink coral, and this one is described as a pink coral. So this one is definitely a little deeper. This is from Sculpture. This is Vibrant Flush and Mood Exposure. These two blushes I always thought were very, very light. Even for me, I thought these were too light. I always struggled, especially with Mood Exposure. I think it's beautiful, but it takes a lot to build it up. So these are definitely more vibrant. And then from Elephant, you have Iridescent Coral and Radiant Rose. So again, you can see Snake is such a much more vibrant palette. Again, this is more comparable to the Tiger palette, which I do not have. I encourage you to go, if you're interested, go to Charlotte Holcroft's channel. She has a video on Snake and she does comparisons. She does have Tiger and she does some great comparisons. But those are the comparisons that I have for the three palettes that I have from Hourglass. Okay, so moving on to the bronzers, we're going to start with the one from Snake, and this is Solar Bronze. Sculpture, this is Natural Bronze Light. and from Elephant Lustrous Bronze Light. So you can see obviously this is much deeper than the other two. This one is more orange. This one I always struggled with. It was just a little too light for me. The one in Jellyfish has definitely been my favorite, and the one that works for me, it's definitely more matte than these. These are more luminous, but it's still matte, but not completely matte. It's a really gorgeous matte. So, but these are the three bronzers. Okay, now we're gonna go to the highlighters. From Snake, we have Infinite Strobe Light, a warm gold, Glistening Strobe Light from Sculpture, and Beaming Strobe Light from Elephant. Again, this one is definitely too deep for me, but gorgeous on the eyes. This one was always very subtle. I liked it, but I didn't love it. I love the one from Elephant. But you can see the comparison. Again, the comparison will be better if you compare it to Tiger. Okay, so I'm going to show you the three other palettes I'm going to compare them to. So we have Snake, and then this is the Orgasm Foreplay from NARS that came out earlier this year. And then we have the Pillow Talk Beautifying Face Palette. This is the medium dark. This was limited edition. It is still available. It is $75. The medium dark is still available. The fair to medium is sold out, but this one is still available. And I think once it it will sell out, but really gorgeous. And then this is the Glowgasm Lovegasm that was re-released earlier this year. It's supposed to be coming back, so I'm going to be comparing these three palettes. Now obviously there's no finishing powders in these, but I think the finishing powders are the ones that probably people care least about. I like them. I like that there's only one in this palette, but it's really, let's be honest, it's the blushes. And now these two palettes, the NARS and the Pillow Talk palette, don't have a bronzer, so that's a big difference too. So, but let's do some side-by-side comparisons to these, because I think these are probably more the same skin tone or you know, depth than, you know, as the Snake palette. Okay, so starting with the Snake palette, we have Sunbeam, the Rich Peach, Coral Haze, Mystic Flush. Now from the NARS palette, we have Orgasm, Orgasm X, and Orgasm Rush. From the Pillow Talk Medium Dark palette, we have the Soft Blush and the Super Blush. And then from Lovegasm, we have the Multi Glow and the Pop Blush. So these actually, I thought this one would be more comparable to the Sunbeam, but it's not at all. So I think these two are kind of out. However, the one that I would say is the most similar is the Orgasm X to, I believe, the Mystic Flush. Yes. So Orgasm X and Mystic Flush are very similar. They're both like pink corals, makes sense. But there's not a big difference, but you can kind of see the range here as far as blushes. But if you have the Foreplay, then, you know, and that's, you know, you're going to get some different blushes. You're definitely going to get the Sunbeam. This is very unique, but you know, you might have a repeat shade. So it's just an idea. I love the Foreplay palette. It is one that I use a lot. I can make all these three work. So if you are one that maybe you're a lighter skin tone like me, but the bronze and the highlight are going to be too deep for you, maybe look into the Foreplay from NARS, because while you're not going to get a bronzer, you're going to get three gorgeous blushes, and we're going to get into the highlight right now. Okay, let's do the bronzers real quick. This is the bronzer from Snake, which is Solar Bronze, and then this is the one from the Charlotte Tilbury Lovegasm. So yeah, the Solar Bronze is definitely even, you know, deeper, and the other two palettes that I have don't have bronzers. So you know, if you are looking for a deeper bronzer, then definitely go for Snake. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the highlighters. I did switch the order of the last two palettes. I'm going to do the Lovegasm first and then the Pillow Talk, because the Pillow Talk really isn't comparable. But here is Snake, and this is the Infinite Strobe Light. This is from NARS, and this is Swinger. This is the highlight from the Lovegasm palette. And then from the Pillow Talk Medium Dark, this is the Super Glow, and this is the Multi Glow. So the Multi Glow is definitely more pink. It's kind of more of a blush topper. Now, this is the interesting thing. So this one is definitely deeper. I can't make this one work as a highlighter. The NARS though is just a little bit lighter, but very similar in tone. It's like same tone, just a little bit lighter, and I can make that one work. I can make that one work as a highlighter. So, and then the Glowgasm is just, or the Lovegasm is just a little bit lighter again. So they're all kind of similar in tone. The Snake one is definitely deeper, but you can kind of see here. So if you are, again, like me, or maybe just a little bit darker, but you still think that this might be too deep for you, I think that the NARS Foreplay might be a good option for you. Or you could try and see if the Lovegasm, and this is supposed to come back in stock. I don't know when, but it is supposed to come back in stock. I love this palette. Now this is on its way out. It's still available. You can find it. You can probably get it on sale. It's supposed to be limited edition. They are coming out with a new blush palette that's going to have 5 blushes and a new highlighter. I'm actually very excited about this because I love this palette. So obviously I don't want to talk too much about this one, but if you are, again, light medium, skin tone, or even maybe medium, and the Snake is going to be too deep for you and you don't care about a bronzer, maybe look at the NARS Foreplay. Okay, so final thoughts about this palette. I think this is a gorgeous palette for the right person. This is definitely a palette for someone with medium to dark skin tones. If you have deep skin tones, I'm not sure if it will work for you. Leave it in the comments below if you have a deep skin tone and you can make this work. I don't know. I will never know. But definitely if you have a medium to tan skin tone, this is definitely, and I'm sorry if you can hear that, that's my 13-year-old pug. Anyway, so this is gorgeous. I think it's stunning. Now, can I make this work? Yes, I think this, like I could totally make these as eyeshadows. I think they're gorgeous. I love how my eyes look right now. And if I use the bronze and the crease shade, I think it would be gorgeous. But it's not really why you buy this, and I have eyeshadows, and let's be honest, I'm never going to use this as eyeshadows except for like a video like this. So, but I think it's gorgeous. I think it's for the right person, and it's stunning. Now, again, I'm not a big Snake person, so I do recommend getting it on Hourglass and maybe getting the packaging that you want if you have a deeper skin tone, maybe getting the Owl or the Leopard. To me, the Leopard is the most stunning. Like, I love the black. I can't wait to see it in person, but I will say this is even prettier in person. The Owl, it is gorgeous. Like the cream, I like this so much better. The Elephant, now the Elephant I did not like it, but it wasn't my favorite. This is, I think this is just stunning this year. So, but I think it's great. I think it's worth it. Now, $90, it's expensive. So make sure it's something that you want or need. And, well, let's be honest, we don't need any of it. It's something that you really, really want and will use, and you will use all 6 shades. If you're not going to use all 6 shades, it's not going to be worth it. But I think it's stunning, and I do recommend it for the right person. So with that, if you like this video, click like, click and subscribe. That way you get a notification every time I post a new video, and the Leopard video will be up as soon as I get the palette. So with that, bye everyone.